Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time for some more Outlander, though this is not going to be a new episode. This is going to be some of the featurettes from the Blu Ray set of the series. And I'm going to start with Season 1 and work my way through all of these different featurettes, the ones that I have, and see some of the deleted scenes, the outtakes, and some of the videos it looks like that are going to be the making of the series. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting, and I also think that this will help fill the gap between the first part of Season 7 and the second part of Season 7. Okay, this is the first video of the featurettes that I'm going to be watching. This is called Outlander, an epic adaptation. So I guess this is going to begin the story of how they changed from being a novel or a series of novels. I don't know how many were written by the time they started the series. I think at least a few of them were done. I think she's still writing some of these novels now. So it's going to be interesting to see what they went through to actually adapt it from novel format to episodic television format. Let's take a look. And just keep in mind, if you would like to watch my full-length reactions to Outlander or any of the other series or movies that I've reacted to, you can head over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/31mike.
Outlander is about time travel and loyalty and love and loss and violence and sex. It covers so much. It's extraordinary.
This is that special book to a lot of people. This is that book that sits on your shelf with the dog-eared paperback that you've dragged around the world and read it, a dozen times.
Well, I do have these books in audio format. I don't have them in paper format, paperback or hardback. But I am thinking about possibly going in and doing some videos on the audiobooks. I'm not quite sure how I'll format that. I'd have to see if anybody else has done it. Maybe take a look at the format that they did it in. Might not be able to put it on YouTube. I don't know. But maybe I can do some video reactions to the audiobooks, at least for Patreon. So that would be interesting. I've listened to some of the first book. Usually I listen to it while I'm in bed falling asleep. And that, you know how that goes. You fall asleep, you miss a lot of the book. So I've listened to a little bit, but I've never made it beyond, the first few chapters, really. So maybe I'll be able to sit down and actually do some videos listening to the books. Let me know what you think about that, if you'd be interested in that.
She's sold 25 million copies of these books and also been a New York Times bestseller.
Now, the fans are absolutely beside themselves with ecstasy at the thought that someone is finally putting it on the screen. I always knew that I was supposed to be a historical novelist, or rather that I was supposed to be a novelist. I just didn't know how. And as it is, I went into science first. I was a scientist for a good many years. When I turned 35, I said to myself, well, Mozart was dead at 36. Maybe you better get a move on here.
I don't think I knew that about
On my
Mozart.
next birthday, I would write a novel just to see how. I said, it doesn't matter what kind of book it is. It's for practice. I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing. Certainly not for publication. And after a bit of thought, I decided that might be historical fiction. I was a research professor. I knew my way around a library. And so I said, fine, historical novel, where shall I set it?
Scotland, maybe?
So I was looking for a time and a place, and I happened to see a really old Doctor Who rerun on public television. And in this very old show, has to have been done 50 years ago, the Doctor had picked up a young Scotsman from 1745. And this was a very nice-looking young man who appeared in his kilt. And I said, well, that's kind of fetching. And I found myself still thinking about this the next day in church. And I said, well, you want to write a book. It doesn't really matter where you set it. The important thing is you pick a point, get started. So I said, fine, Scotland, 18th century. So
I'll have to see if I can find that Doctor Who episode.
Or the 18th century, having no plot, no outline, and no characters. Nothing but the rather vague images conjured up by the notion of a man in a kilt.
That's quite the fine figure, Mr. McTavish.
I wrote Outlander, as I say, for practice. I wasn't going to show it to anyone. And things happened, and it not only got published, but they gave me a 3-book contract. Now, I never said it was a trilogy. I said, there's more.
Diana's books are so vast. They've got so many wonderful, intricate characters, and there's so much backstory to each one, and she reveals more and more each book.
This book series says
It's odd to hear him with his real accent and not hear him as Jamie. I've seen a couple of things where I could hear his actual true accent. It's just strange to hear somebody else's voice coming out of Jamie, if you understand what I mean.
become a television series, which is absolutely the best that could be hoped, and so grateful that it worked out this way. People have been trying for years and years and years to make a feature film of Outlander, and frankly, it can't be done. The story is just too big, too complex, and too tightly interwoven.
They wanted to do a 2-hour movie, 2-hour movie, 2-hour movie, and I said you wouldn't do them justice. It needs to be a television series.
That wouldn't work.
It needs to be episodic, and you need to see all the little details that Diana so richly created.
Yeah, 2-hour movies, 3 2-hour movies just wouldn't work. Be interesting, but it wouldn't be as good as what we see.
To do a series and imbue it with all it needs to be imbued with, and all the fine stitchery of it will be absolutely perfect. And Ron has very good taste, and I think his work with Diana and his demands of the show and the actors he's chosen will only enhance the original piece of work.
My involvement came about a few years ago. I was having dinner with my wife, Terry, and my producing partner, Meryl, in Vancouver, and we were talking about potential future projects to tackle, and it turned out that each of them independently were huge fans of these books, and had never talked about it. They got very excited, and I read the book, and I was just sort of hooked. It was a page-turner. The central character was really fascinating, and by the time I finished the book, I was in. I said, okay, I get it. I see how we make a season of television out of this. There's 8 more books. That's multi-year seasons. I like that too. So let's figure out the rights.
Of course he likes that.
After we secured the rights, one of the first things that Meryl and I did was fly to Scottsdale, Arizona, where Diana actually lives. And we spent a weekend with her just talking about process of adaptation, sort of my ideas at what I would adapt and how I would change things and what would remain the same. And I told her from the outset, look, I was committed to doing as faithful an adaptation as we could.
What he said to me was, "This is my wife's favorite book. I don't dare screw it up."
The relationship between an author and a reader is a different relationship than that between a piece of television and an audience.
The adaptation is pretty inspired. It's very insightful. It's a very respectful adaptation, but they're not afraid, to take the necessary steps.
Oh,
to
they
make
got
it
her
a
dressed
better
up.
visual.
These books
Was she in the episode?
are really large, and there's a lot of material. And obviously, even though we have 16 episodes, a lot of material doesn't make it into the scripts. And I will say, Ron and I set up the writing staff in a way that half the writing staff knew of the books beforehand and were fans, and half the writing staff didn't know of the books and were very new to them. We wanted to do that so we get both perspectives.
There's this extra dimension to it that's brought to it by the actors and the setting and the script and so forth. And it is recognizably Outlander. It's my story, but at the same time, there's this sense of novelty and discovery about it, which is just wonderful.
Sometimes I'm a little intimidated because I'm like, it's this whole world that she's created, and I still feel like we're just at the beginning of this.
Well, at that point, they were just at the beginning.
Nice that she's so supportive, and it's been so nice to have her there as kind of a source to go to.
We're at the beginning of this journey, it's like being at the start of Diana's books. You read Cross Stitch or Outlander, and you think you know these characters, and by the time you get to book 8, they're completely different, or they've traveled a long way, and it feels like we're at the very start of that journey.
Yeah, they lost a lot of characters too.
In the early going, they all were sort of aware that there was a lot to live up to, that there were people out there excited already to see this show, and so it gave everybody sort of a sense of, okay, well, this is, we have people out there we don't want to let down.
Ron is just a remarkable person in both a personal and a creative sense, and the Outlander production couldn't be in better hands than his.
Interesting. I don't know if I knew that she was in any episodes, and I'm assuming the way they had her dressed up, she was in at least one of the episodes, maybe The Gathering. I'll have to go back and look and see, or if you know if she was in more than one episode or which episode she was in. It'd be interesting to go back just to see what scenes she was in. But yeah, they all commented, or a few of them commented about how they were just at the beginning of that journey, just at the beginning of that story. And certainly looking back over 6.5 seasons now, they really were. The characters really have grown and changed. And like I say, we've lost multiple characters, Dougal and Rupert and Angus and Colum and, gosh, I don't know who else, Galus. Well, Galus we got back. Leary, will we see Leary again? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But we gained her daughter. Oh gosh, I've forgotten her name now. It's been so long since we've seen her. I've lost her daughter's name. It's just gone right out of my head. But anyway, like I say, we've gained characters. Fergus and various others here that we've come to know here in more recent seasons, more recent episodes. But looking back at some of these videos where we see Rupert and Angus, I miss those characters. I really enjoyed those characters. And even to an extent in those early episodes, the early, two seasons, the first 2 seasons, Dougal. He was sometimes a good guy, most of the time a bad guy. But I enjoyed that character. I enjoyed Dougal's character. And of course, Murtagh. I really enjoyed Murtagh. I wish they would have found a way to keep him in it. And I do understand from various people mentioning to me, I think at one time or another, that Murtagh was actually killed in the books at the Battle of Culloden. But we, of course, got to see him survive that and into season, 4 or 5, something like that, before he was actually killed off. So we at least got a few more seasons with Murtagh in it. But it would have been nice to have them find a way to keep him in it for the duration of the series, because I really enjoyed that character and the interactions with Jamie as well. Jamie and Claire. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do have the audiobooks, or at least some of the audiobooks, and I can get the rest, of course. And I'm thinking about maybe doing some videos, some reactions to those audiobooks. And I don't know how they'll be formatted. I don't know if I can put them on YouTube or if they would have to be a Patreon kind of thing solely. But if that's something that you would be interested in, please do let me know. And I'll start looking into that, seeing what I can do. And maybe we can start all over from the beginning, but this time with the books. And see what the difference is between the books and the episodes. I think that would be very interesting. If you're interested in watching any of my full-length reactions, like I've said before, you can head over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/31mike. Not every single episode of Outlander is over there as a full-length reaction. I'm not quite sure where they begin, maybe around season 3. So that was the first of these featurette videos that I am going to make. I'm going to try to get through every single one of them that's available. And like I say, I'll try to put them on YouTube if I can. If they get blocked, I'll have them over on Patreon. But they look like they're going to be very interesting. I really enjoyed that first video, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of them and seeing some of the making of it. I really enjoy those behind-the-scenes sort of things. And like I said, on some of those very early Season 1 episodes, I recognize Ron Moore from his days with Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Don't know if he was in Voyager, if he did any of Voyager or not. And then, of course, I know Ira Stephen Bear, was also involved in the first season, definitely, maybe the second season. But something happened where he left, I think, after the second season. But I've always enjoyed the things that he did. I think he was a Ira Bear, as well as Ron Moore. Were very good in their writing, at least in the Star Trek series that I mentioned. And I think that both of them really added to this series. And it would have been nice to see Ira Bear stick around and see what he may have added and what he may have contributed to the rest of these episodes and seasons. But of course, they're sticking pretty well to the stories, I think, in the books. So there's only so much that you can do to differ from that story-wise. But style-wise or character-wise, maybe there are some things that he would have done differently. Would have been interesting to see, because I think that he's a very good writer and a very good, I don't know if he's a director, producer, or what he does, but kind of behind the scenes as far as that goes now. But I know he was a showrunner for Deep Space Nine at some point. Deep Space Nine, my favorite star of the Star Trek series. So that's why I know those names. That's why I know those faces and those men. So it just would have been interesting to see Ira Behr's take on the rest of this series after season 2 or 3, whenever it was that he left. So thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do go ahead and subscribe. And hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. And leave a comment down below, even if it's just the number 1, the number 2, whatever. Leave some comments down below, and that will really help me with YouTube's search algorithm and help my channel to get a little bit more exposure. So thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video.